it opened up a big space for my left hand to go around the neck. And now I have my work to do. The arm is stuck, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna move our hips out. We're gonna look to get our arm in guillotine. So I'll fold in my left hand. Right hand will grab my palm. The idea that I'd like to try to keep in mind is that with this part of the wrist, I want to get to this carotid. So I'm going to bring my elbow low and around the neck, and then I'm going to cowhand myself. So not really, but I'm going to press my wrist into his head. So this right elbow is still flaring high. It's very similar to a high elbow guillotine, but it's the wrong wrist that's bent. This wrist is bent and pressing into the neck. Okay, so when we do this, my left wrist is bent, pressing into Kyle's neck. Now, you see that my right elbow is nice and high here. Okay, now when we finish, it's important what the legs do. My right leg is going to go look for that back hip. And my left leg is going to lock on top of that. Okay, I'm going to loosen up my arms just so Kyle doesn't go unconscious here. But here's what I want to do with the arm in guillotine. I want to bring my weight up off the ground. I don't want to have my weight on the floor, my back on the floor. It's not what I want. I want to bring my hips up off the ground, and I want to crunch my knees in. So we bring his head forward and tuck his chin into the strangle, which will make the strangle a little stronger. The things that we want to avoid on this scenario is I don't want to extend them away. His head will come out. I want to bring him in with my legs. I want to stay on my side and bring him in. And then I want to bring my hips up off the floor. And once we do that with this cowhand, as I start to bring my elbow to my left hip, we'll have a little rotation of the elbow to the left hip. It'll go on very, very tightly, and it won't feel like you're really doing anything with your body. There's very little squeezing to be had in a scenario, and that will make sure that you can squeeze for a very long time or hold this position for a very long time. Let's do this again, and we'll rotate around so you can see this side of the body. So keep in mind, remember, he is driving hard into the frame, which will put you on your side and open up that neck. Okay, so we've got the frame all locked up. Kyle starts to drive very, very hard. I use the table of the leg to move my hip out with the stiff leg method. I wrap around the arm. Now, the hand can't stay under the leg. Gotta bring your hand out now. And now it's all about bringing my hips all the way across my body. Okay, we're gonna use our legs to bring the hips across. And we get into this position where I've got my left elbow deep, I've cow-handed my arm, and my right elbow flares up, almost like a high elbow guillotine. Now the legs go right, the top leg goes over to the hip, the opposite leg locks on top of that. Now you'll be able to see where my hips are going. I don't want my back on the mat. You can clearly see that my hips and my back are on the mat right now. I want to bring my hips and back, or my hips, up off the ground. What that does is put all the weight into my arms. It's going to put the weight into the choke, or the strangle rather. It's not going to let me go. I can't do it just squeezing here on the ground. I need to bring my body up off the mat. When I bring my body up off the floor, the weight is on the strangle now. I'll bring my left elbow into my hip, and I'll bring him forward with my legs. So we're going to have a crunching of him forward. We're going to lift the hips up off the ground, and we're going to stay on our side with our guillotine attached. If I lock Kyle's neck, just so you can see, just on your knees. If I lock this up, what you want is you want this lassoing of the neck with the arms. And then this hand cow hands itself, wrist is bent, into the carotid on this side. This elbow will be high. So the key on getting this guillotine to work like this is to have a very loose arm. On this version, and on this version that I like, the elbow, the forearm is not scraping across the Adam's apple. Okay? This is you're bringing your arm around it. The point. This is the point where a lot of people struggle with this version of the arm and guillotine. This is the dragging of your forearm across the throat is usually the demise of this particular version. You need to have a little looser arm approach. So it goes in loose, and then it's like a paper cutter. It my wrist goes into my bicep like a paper cutter. So the elbow is in place, and then we close the hinge of the elbow. It doesn't come up and it doesn't drag all the way through. It loops around. This elbow is high, and you can see the grip that I have. I grab the palm, and my thumb is out of here. It's not made on the grip. And then we cowhand our left wrist into the bicep, and this palm is pushing, and our other elbow is flared high, very similar to a high elbow guillotine. And then the legs are very important. The far leg goes on the hip. We lock it up, and we bring our hips up off the ground. So let's have a look one more time. This, we have a training partner or opponent that's driving extremely hard. We lock up our arm in guillotine, and we get a good finish. The harder your training partner drives against your frame, the easier this move is to make happen. And then if you like arm in guillotines, then you have all of the setups or the follow-ups that exist from an arm in guillotine. So you got to remember that if Kyle defends and he brings his hands down to the wrist, we can walk our legs right over and look to get into the trap triangle again. So in this case, I'll just demonstrate that real quickly. There are several things to do at follow-ups. If Kyle brings his right hand into my wrist and flattens me out, he's defending, he drives my body flat, and I feel like I can't finish. Gonna drive me flat, buddy? He drives me flat, then the looping of that left leg goes over the head. Now, again, if I have the guillotine, I can try to finish. If I lose the guillotine and he starts posturing away, look where we are. We're just in trap triangle again. Okay, I've got the arms all set up. I can bring the head back down. I can go for opposite triangle. So we can get back to the trap triangle off arm and guillotine very, very easy. You can also take this and move on with it. If anytime I coach my students in arm and guillotine, if it's failing, we can bring our body into a position where we can also hit sumigeshi. So